Well, I don't see any market or policy implications based on the news that we know. We've known for weeks, Sarah, that Jeff Sessions was probably going to be out during the campaign. We were joking last night at about 10 o'clock last night, why haven't we seen Jeff Sessions get fired yet? It's a common tactic to fire a cabinet member while the election returns are coming in to overtake this story. And one of the reasons is that the Republicans were doing better than expected last night. They didn't want to stomp on their press releases. So my sense is we got to wait, we got to see. There's no indication that Whitaker is going to limit this. And there's a belief that Trump probably knows who he's going to appoint as Attorney General, and we're going to see that come through. I would also add that Mueller has done a significant portion of his work at this point. And so it's not like that we're not going to see something. Even if they limit this special counsel, Mueller could just release his findings outside that. So it makes for a good story. It gives people something to talk about. But what we care about at Strategas is earnings and interest rates and how this election could impact different sectors. And I think that's a much more interesting story for investors today.
But Dan, just quickly, not to labor the point, given what you just said. I mean, I'm looking at a tweet now from Bernie Sanders 15 minutes ago, and he says any attempt by the president to interfere with Mueller's probe would be obstruction of justice and an impeachable offense. If we got to that stage, do you not think that would rock the markets?
Well, I think the Democrats are already going down that avenue when Trump fired Comey. So I think the Mueller report will say that Trump already obstructed justice. I really don't think that you would get 67 votes in the United States Senate for the president being able to do something that he has the constitutional authority to do. He can fire anybody at any time if he wants to. But Wilford, your point is a good one. The Democrats will have a seat at the table now because they've won the House of Representatives. So what they say matters, and they're going to have a lot more influence to have oversight over the president. And that's why when we were going into the election, people say, oh, it's status quo. It's never status quo when a party changes, and now we're going to start seeing it. But a lot of it is headline risk, not real risk for investors, unless you find something on Russia collusion as part of the Mueller investigation.
Well, Dan, if not status quo in the sense of the headlines we're going to get and how we have to treat them, is it not a bit of a stalemate policy-wise, though? I mean, beyond the firing, beyond the Mueller issue, are we basically led to expect that there's really not going to be much happening on the fiscal side, perhaps either on health care?
So, Mike, let me give you a bit of a contrarian perspective on that. We have a series of must-pass legislation that needs to get done. We need to do the debt ceiling. That's going to create a catalyst. We're going to have to do a fiscal year 2020 budget. That's going to create a catalyst. We now probably have the votes to complete a farm bill because the Democrats have the House and the Republicans couldn't reach those agreements. And in the second quarter of 2019, Congress is going to be presented with the revised NAFTA that they're going to vote on. So in a certain sense, the election has created this different equation of how these issues are going to get resolved. And the Democrats have a seat at the table to have a say in those types of issues. I have great respect. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Dan, the problem with your thesis is what we're seeing right now with the announcement of the resignation at the request of the president of AG Sessions and how all the Democrats are already on high alert. Not to mention, we were also starting to hear that they want to subpoena his tax returns. I mean, you think in that kind of environment of investigations and being on the defensive with the Mueller investigation, they're going to work with Republicans on passing bipartisan legislation?
Absolutely, Sarah. So listen, it's important not to overthink this, and it's about timing, okay? Because we're going to have to pass a budget. We're going to have to raise the debt ceiling. We're forced into that, regardless of what's happening in the investigations. At the end of the day, the Democrats are going to have to bring results home so that they can win re-election. They won very tight races in Republican districts to take over the majority. Those members are going to need results. And I think as you get into later 2019, when a number of those catalysts get presented for themselves, you're going to see them sit in a room. But that doesn't take away from your point that the first half is we're going to kill each other. But a lot of that doesn't really impact the investment. It's a lot of headline news out there. And as we get deeper into 2019, we're going to be forced to have to work together on some of these issues.